Have you ever had a moment in your life when you thought, I can't do this? The mountain in front of me is just too big. I grew up in a family where I felt like my life revolved around my father's mental illness. And as an adult, I was determined to make a very different new life where I would never speak of depression, anxiety, or suicide ever again. Can you imagine my terror when I found myself in a bathroom stall at 21 years old, crying, shaking uncontrollably, and trying to stifle back the vomit coming up my throat? I was experiencing my first panic attack. And for the next 5.5 years, I would cycle in and out of mental breakdowns. Amidst these years of crisis, I had consistent suicide ideations. And there was one night when I seriously considered suicide as the right option. I'd been given some medication that I had a severe reaction to. I woke up at 3 a.m. feeling completely confident that taking my own life was the right choice. Something is wrong. I didn't hear the words, I felt them. The words took over and pushed me to wake someone up for help. I feel like I want to kill myself, and I feel 100% sure about it. Something is wrong. You need to take me to the hospital right now. Can you think of a worse way to wake up? I dialed the number of a suicide hotline as I was driven to the emergency room. I spent the next 8 hours lying in a hospital bed, having my body pumped with Benadryl through an IV, trying to flush out the medication I'd been given. Have you experienced a loss? I felt a loss of innocence. I swore as a teenager I would never be like what I watched growing up, and yet here I was in the ER, fighting to stay alive. This night was not the end of my story, just like your dark nights aren't the end of yours. How? Gratitude. Sometimes we are better at appreciating the light when we know something about the darkness. It's not a bad gig. Gratitude begets momentum.
Dear little girl, stop believing the lies they told you. I know in elementary you didn't have many friends. I know that you were told that you were getting uglier every second, and boys held folders in front of their faces so they couldn't see your ugliness. I know in junior high you were continually bullied. I know the cute boy you liked held up a mirror to your face while he shouted, "Don't look in this ugly or you'll break it." I know in high school you just wanted to fit in and be loved, so you probably kissed a few too many boys and attended parties you shouldn't have been at. Dear little girl, I know it hurts so bad, but you are going to be okay. You are going to realize that this little girl doesn't deserve to continue feeling less than. She deserves to become the hero of her own story, and she can. One day, this little girl looked into the mirror again, and this time she really looked. She looked so deeply and began to cry when she noticed her green eyes sparkling with shimmers of yellow, encircled with deep blue rims and rays of brown around her pupils. She repeated these words to herself. I am worthy. I honor who I am becoming. I am beautiful inside and out. I love you. Fast forward a few years to this little girl, now grown and 25, started to change, believe her infinite worth, and truly start on the path to becoming who she was meant to be. This little girl from the story became a teacher for 14 years, poured her heart into each child, and created mindset and empowerment armor to prepare her students to become heroes of their own stories because she knew what it was like to not feel like she was enough. Do you want to know where she is today? She's standing bravely in front of you. I was that little broken girl, but I learned to find myself by turning my pain into purpose.
Purpose becomes passion when it gets personal. Hi, I'm Jeff Johnston, founder of the Living Undeterred Project, and I'm so excited and happy to be able to support Brandy and the Live Live national and global event on September 10th, 2022. I just got done embarking on a 95-day odyssey around the United States in an RV, talking about and bringing attention to mental health, substance use disorders, and addiction. For those of you that follow my story, our oldest son Seth died from fentanyl poisoning at the age of 23 on October 4, 2016. This was soon followed by my wife of 21 years, Prudence, died at the age of 46 from alcohol abuse. I like to attribute this to the death of losing a child. Some mountains are just too high to climb. So I'm all in on this project. I'm here to support however I can help those people that are struggling day to day with their mental health. The Living Undeterred Project is about to announce some major initiatives that we have that we think can really change the narrative on mental health, substance use disorders, and addiction. So with that, I had the opportunity to meet Brandy in Salt Lake City. She attended one of our presentations, and I'm honored to call her a friend and an advocate. And as I say at the end of every presentation, and as I said at the beginning of this video, purpose becomes passion when it gets personal. Keep living undeterred. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, I'm Nathan Gunn, and it is such a pleasure to be here with you this evening for Live Live 2022. This event reminds me of a time when I was in Israel working, and the man I was talking to told me that my name, Nathan Gunn, Natan Gunn, means has given a garden. I've looked at life differently since then. This event reminds me of that garden that all of us are a part of. All of us grow at different rates, have different smells. Some of us are trees, some of us are thorn bushes, some of us are roses, but it makes up this beautiful world we live in. Today, I'd like to sing for you a piece from Mendelssohn's Elijah. For the mountains shall depart, and the hills be removed, but your kindness shall not depart. I'll be accompanied by my wife, Julie Gunn, at the piano, and by my daughter, Jordan Gunn, at the cello.
Stomp Out Bullying is the leading national anti-bullying and cyberbullying organization for kids and teens in the United States.
Regardless of what you look like, what you wear, your race, what religion you practice, what games you like to play, who you love or how you choose to express yourself, we all deserve the same respect and dignity.
Show your kindness and be somebody who makes everybody feel like a somebody.
This global initiative brings awareness and educates the public, and it gives kids and teens a chance to make a difference.
Will you join me in this simple call to action and be part of the solution? Stand up against bullying.
Stand up against bullying.
Stand up against bullying.
Please stand up against bullying. I hope you'll spread the word.
Stomp out bullying, spread love, not hate.
Love is the only way to beat hate.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Hill. I'm a retired First Sergeant from the United States Army. I have served for 21 years, both on and off the battlefield. I have had to do and see some things that has caused me a lot of trauma in my life. And as a soldier with that trauma, I had to seek counseling. The counseling that I was seeking was frowned down upon my leadership. I was considered weak, a coward, who would never get anywhere in life. Well, what I'm here to tell you is that's absolutely wrong. I'm here as a leader to tell you that counseling is a good thing. Getting help is a good thing. It's okay not to be okay. But know the resources. Stay in a tight-knit community of veterans. That's where all the knowledge, the veteran service organizations, and all the folks that are wanting to help you are at. I still get counseling. I still go from time to time to get a checkup to make sure that my brain is right and I'm ready to continue to serve the community and the veterans that need help. I am proud of what I do, and I will continue to do that for the rest of my life. It is an honor to continue to serve those that are still serving or those that have served and need help. It is not a bad thing to go get help. I encourage all of you to find a resource in your network that provides care for veterans. Discovery Behavioral Health is one of those resources that I would encourage you to look up. They provide counseling, detox, SUD treatment, eating disorders, and so much more. Find them on the internet, Discovery Behavioral Health, and call them if you need to get help and you need to get to a better place in life. It's that easy. Know the Veterans Crisis Line. Know all those things where you can get help, or you know where to get a veteran to so that veteran can get help as well. Never feel shame. Never feel dishonor. Never feel bad about going to get help. If you're not the one that needs help, but you know somebody needs help, be that person that steps up and asks the tough question. Are you okay? Do you need help? And make sure you know where to take them. I thank you all very much for the time. I thank you all for being here for this great cause. And I'd like to thank Brandy Vega and Janie Paulson for this opportunity to speak to all of you today. It's an honor, a privilege, and I wish everybody the best in health, safety, and a prosperous year. Thank you, and God bless.
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by. If you'll smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through for you. Light up your face with gladness. Hide every trace of sadness. Although a tear may be ever so near, that's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. If you just
Every voice matters. Every life matters. My brother Shane, who was killed by suicide. My military brothers Clyde and Sheldon, who were both killed by suicide after we came home from Iraq. Every life matters. Our voice matters. Raise your voice, make a difference. If you or someone you know is struggling, call 988.
Are you ready to create a miracle? Because that is exactly what we have the power to do right now as we come together with those all over the globe, millions coming together today on Global Suicide Prevention Day, joining together in the heart of compassion. We are going to send our love with these frequencies of emerald, which is a love frequency, pink aura gold, rhodochrosite that heals the inner child, lithium, a salt in lepidolite, which is so good to lift the brain in the heart of depression. May we embrace those who are suffering. May they feel our love raise them up so that they might have a higher perspective, that the hope might come through like sunshine. May those rays warm them, and may they be able to find the solutions, the people, and the resources that will help them move back to the heart of health and joy that is at the center of their being again. For love heals all things, and we leave them with this love. Now, miracles are natural with love.
My name is Dr. Ilya Gorgoras, and I'm so grateful and honored to have been asked by Live Live to speak to you and share some thoughts to you about suicide prevention. As a clinical psychologist for many, many years in private practice, I had lots and lots of clients or patients that struggle with depression and suicidality and post-traumatic stress and so on. And I feel so grateful that actually no one took their own lives while under my stewardship. But there were some very close calls. And I'd like to share one of those stories with you. One evening, late at night, I had this very strong prompting that I needed to call this patient of mine, this lady. And, you know, that's not the protocol. Usually, patients would leave a message, I would pick up the message, listen to it, and then I would call them back. Maybe that same evening or the following day. But in this particular case, the prompting was so strong that initially I ignored it, but 10 minutes later, it came back again. Ilya, you need to call so-and-so. So I very reluctantly got on the phone and I called this lady. Obviously, she was surprised and shocked that I was calling her late at night, and I was very apologetic, by the way. I'm like, I'm really sorry I'm calling. I just felt like I needed to check in with you and make sure everything was okay. As a side note, in the background, I could hear what to me sounded like she was pouring like M&Ms on a bowl. That's kind of as a side note. Anyway, we talked for 4 or 5 minutes. I could tell that she was emotional and that she was upset over something. She didn't go into any detail. But in the end, you know, we had a good visit. We got off the phone, and I really didn't think much about it until the following week when she came in for her weekly visit. So she comes in, she sits on my couch right here behind me, and she doesn't say anything for like 3 or 4 minutes, which I thought was very unusual. And she starts to get really emotional. So I got up and I got her some tissues for her. And she looked at me directly and said to me, you know the other night when you called? And I'm like, I know, I'm so sorry that I did that. That's very unusual. I don't know why I called you. And she says to me, I know why you called. And I said, why do you think I called you? And she says to me, do you know what I was doing when you called? I said, no, I really don't. And she said, I was at the end of my rope. I was so down and so depressed. and I had made a decision to end my life when you called. And obviously I was shocked. And she said, you know what I was doing when you actually called? I said, no, I could hear some noise in the background. And she said I had 40 pain pills that I was emptying into a bowl, and I was going to take them all that evening, and I was going to end my life because I was hopeless, I was depressed, and I just couldn't go on anymore. And just then, you ended up calling me, and we ended up having this conversation, and I felt like somebody cared, that somebody reached out at my lowest point in life. And of course, she cried, and I got choked up, and I cried. It was just a very emotional session. But the good news is 20 years later, this lady is alive and well, is living a wonderful life. The reason why I wanted to share this with you is I want you to pay attention to that still small voice, right? Some people might call it the Holy Spirit, or the Spirit of God, or your intuition, or your higher self. I personally don't really care what you call it, but when you hear that prompting about another human being, act on it, and act on it as quickly as you can. There are very few absolutes in life, and that's one of them. I have listened to that voice for at least the last 35 years, and every time I've listened to it and I've acted on it, it has always worked out. It's one of the few absolutes in life. But of course, being a perfect human being, there have been plenty of times when I've heard it and I've ignored it, which I almost did that particular night, and I'm so glad that I didn't. So my message to you is, listen to that still small voice, trust it, and then act on it, and you might just save somebody's life. Thank you for your time, and God bless you.
Hello, my name is Bill Schiffenhauer, and I am a 3-time Olympian and an Olympic silver medalist representing the Olympic and Paralympic families of Team USA. Some of you may know my story as the Olympian that, against all odds, overcame a life in my youth of homelessness, foster homes, drugs, and alcohol. Later in life, I found a passion for sports and changed my stars to go from homelessness to an Olympic champion. Now, my story could have ended there and been amazing, but it didn't. After my retirement in 2010, I went through the hardest life transition and had no idea what was in store for me. The travel, the competitions, the notoriety, and Olympic Games all gone, and I had lost my identity of who I thought I was and who I thought I was supposed to become. The next 8.5 years was the most grueling, tumultuous, depressing, isolated, and hopeless period in my life. I left behind years of lessons, principles, practices, and people that helped me to achieve such great things like the Olympic Games. I stopped dreaming big and making beautiful goals in life. I stopped surrounding myself with positive people. Stopped caring for myself physically, mentally, and emotionally. I suffered alone, and in 2016, I attempted to take my own life. Miraculously, I survived, and I'm here to share my experiences and let you know that there is more to life. Thankfully, I came across a group of coaches and mentors and had a discussion on if we felt we lived a life by design or by default. And if we lived a life by default, which was truly where I was and I knew it, it was not too late to declutter the things in our life that are not serving us and rebuild our life by design. You see, I had 2 choices. 1, continue down this dark, depressing state, or 2, learn how to redesign my architecture and lead a life by design, just as I had to become an Olympic champion. It was an easy choice. I was tired, depressed, lonely, and had no hope. Things were not going to get any better unless I was willing to take 100% accountability for my own life. Learn to be vulnerable and get the help I needed. Difficult this path was, but I moved forward. I chose to make no more excuses, no more bad habits, no more negative people, and no more victim mentality. I surrounded myself with strong, positive people, mentors and coaches, started to dream and again, set goals and aspirations for myself. You see, we are the architects of our own lives, the authors of our own story, and it is up to us to create a life by design. I know if you do this, over time you will achieve your dreams and happiness. Let me leave you with this. Dreams are only dreams until we take the actions to ignite them. And I ask you, what actions will you take today to change your tomorrow for the better? Again, Bill Schiffenhauer, against all odds, I was able to achieve happiness and live a life by design, and so can you.
Hi, I'm Ganalyn Condi. I am so thrilled to have a few minutes to share my story with you. 8 years ago, I lost my 40-year-old sister, Meg, to suicide. Her death changed me forever. And for the next few minutes, I wanted to share some thoughts, things I've learned from her passing and from our family's journey through this specific and unique kind of grief. For me, suicide is a complex issue and it demands a complex solution. So that means it's not one size fits all. It doesn't mean that we don't have an opportunity every single day to address this complex and important issue, which is why this event is so exciting and so wonderful. It has a global reach and an opportunity for us to normalize our conversations around mental health and therapy. I think all of us can assume that after especially the last few years, that all of us have mental health needs. For me, mental health is health, and we shouldn't be embarrassed to talk about our health. For me, therapy is education. It's education for my heart, for my mind, and for my relationships. For me also, suicide is not one decision someone makes, but it is one decision that changes their choices and options. With all the efforts and all the work and all the creation that I've been able to do over this subject the last few years, my life is not better without my sister, Meg. Every single day, I have things that I want to share with her, that I want to talk with her about, that I want to reach out and get support for. And so if you're joining us and you're struggling, I hope you know that we will never be better without you. You matter to us. And I hope that if you've been struggling, you feel more than ever that you are not alone. So let's continue to normalize our conversations around mental health, around therapy. I love when we celebrate and receive support from each other. I love when we celebrate going to counseling or therapy, when we post about it, when we talk about it with our family and our friends. It ripples out and we give permission for others to also receive the help that they need. Remember, support and therapy is not a one size fits all. And we need to expand sometimes our ideas of tools or tools that we're going to put in our mental health toolboxes. I hope through this event and the conversations that you're going to keep having, you'll keep adding to the tools in your life. Mental health is health, and therapy is an education. And I'm never embarrassed about getting more education. So in honor of my sister, Meg, I share her story with thousands of you in hopes that you will know that we will never be better without you. I hope that we can keep having these conversations and expand what support looks like to get resources to those that need it most. Thank you. And remember, we'll never be better without you.